Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Stéphanie. I'm an educational researcher at University of Ghent and also the University of Applied Sciences at Vanneste. I do have some experience in other institutions like KU Leuven. So I want to talk about all three institutions and all experience I've had. So I'm talking about general of higher education in three institutions of Flanders. I've just put KU Leuven a bit smaller because they don't pay me anymore. So that gives me the right to put them a bit smaller. Well, let's start with a unique situation here in Flanders because we have the XR action plan. The Ministry of Education has provided a lot of money, and this way 250 boxes with XR hardware are distributed over Flanders in secondary schools. Each box contains like 4 Pico 4 headsets, Insta360 camera, an iPad, Apple iPad Pro, and so on. It's like a great gift for all schools, and it's also distributed with the regional technological centers here. But we get always the same question of our schools. How can we continue to do XR when the project is going to stop? But on the other side, so I will talk about it later, but on the other side, it gives us a lot of opportunities. But because this way we can show to our board that extended reality fits in secondary schools. So we have to also train our own colleagues to implement XR in their courses. And sometimes we have, my colleague and I, we have each of us has a box. So we talk, we give sessions to our colleagues. We talk about affordances, they can try out. And this way we try to persuade them to enhance the XR in their courses. But of course, what's after the whole big project? So we're also talking with schools, higher education, primary and secondary education, about the possibilities, the solutions they can offer, which are sustainable and at low cost. So I've got 3 main topics, main advices. And the first of all of them is to connect, to really talk to like-minded people. Let's start at the institution level, because here first at KU Leuven, I was like the only one working at the XR island. But then I was contacted by one of the ITers, and they were talking about the use of XR. And during their monthly meeting, they were discussing who works with it and who doesn't. This way, they brought in everyone together. They gathered everyone who's working with XR. This way, we had a small community, a small network across different faculties, and it made a whole lot of difference to tackle the problems, to talk about it, to share our knowledge. Second way is also to connect. If you have to reach out to faculty, please do it with the one of computer sciences, IT, and so on. We have done the same at Ghent University, because, for example, we have art science interaction labs, and this way a lot of faculties can go to them and they can talk about issues, problems. For example, we want to build an XR design of an XR build about a topic of justice, for example, and those students can work out a build for you. So they have several possibilities, several builds they have made. So if Dovi, if you can put the link into the chat, you can just click on it and discover what they already have done. So they have students, they have the knowledge to build XR surrounding environments. So reach out to them, they can help you. Another great example, 2 years ago already, I've worked on an experience twin project. It was a connection between KU Leuven, but also Ghent with MICT. And those colleagues of MICT have built a digital twin of the immersive room, where we have, it's like a room where the students learn how to collaborate, work with each other to set a diagnosis. So they do it in real life, but now we have put it in virtual reality. So they could pair up and try to tackle the problem by discussing it. So it was really great to have colleagues of the other faculty to work out something for us and give us opportunities to actually learn to collaborate in virtual reality as well. Third way to connect is, please, if you feel like you're the only one at your faculty, go to events, to conferences, to conventions, because there you can meet a lot of like-minded people. For example, if you go to a keynote and someone's talking about the same issues that you have, the same problems, the same wishes, don't hesitate to talk to that person. I've done it for the past 3 years, and I've made a lot of connection networking with other people, and made us now at a point that I have a lot of people talking about XR, and I want to discover the world of XR. At those conventions, you also meet a lot of companies. This way, for example, I've met Dexter, who have great opportunities to build XR on a budget as well. For companies in general and Flanders, we have also an unique way to work with each other, because we have like a connection with the ethics station. They unite startups, companies working on educational technology, so also XR, and they can feed the triangle of research, companies, and education. And every time I have a problem, I can reach out to them, ask them if there are companies who can help us, and so on. So I think that maybe in your country you have like the same sort of organization. Okay, so that was for get connected with others. Maybe if you work on a budget, sometimes you can get a budget. And there are a lot of calls for XR projects. If you have a great network, we talk to each other. Hey, have you seen the call for XR projects? We share it on LinkedIn. But on the other hand, thanks to your network, you can be part of a consortium. This way you get a lot of money to build XR environments, but also to buy a lot of hardware. So it gives a lot of opportunities to focus on a big, great XR projects. And I have 3 examples. The first one, the Reef, it's a project of a lot of partners, but also Ghent and Vives. And it's about blue energy. It connects, it really boosts your skills to enhance yourself in the blue energy domain, let's say it that way. And they do it by a lot of extended reality technology. For example, they have a VR cave in which you can have the experience of the sea and energy you get by that. So also I've sent the link. Just look at the website, then you can see a lot of what's happening there. Second, very fine project we have here at Vives, and we also do it together with KU Leuven, is the House of AI, augmented, not augmented, talking about augmented reality nowadays, so I forgot. It's artificial intelligence. It's really hot these days. So we have built a house of AI in which we can see the opportunities AI offering to humans, not nowadays, but also in the future. So it's a great project by a lot of funding. It's also talking about the ethical and societal challenges it's offering. So it's a really great place, location. You can visit it. You can, as a company, you also have to pay for the schools. It's mostly free, but with that money, we can invest it again in AI, but also there's a corner of extended reality. And the last project I want to highlight is the Cocon. We have changed our libraries to hubs where students and trainers and teachers can go and enhance their skills on digital levels and so on. So even there we have a corner when you can podcast, but also do extended reality. So by getting a lot of finances from other partners, you can also encourage your board to invest in extended reality in this case. Okay, the last advice I'm giving you is that you should start with small steps. Don't see it too big, because one small step for you can be later on a fabulous, a great leap for your organization. For example, for hardware, sometimes I ask my students to bring their own devices, because on their smartphone they can do a lot of augmented reality. For the Cocon, so the library we've changed, we needed a lot of XR hardware, and we did a group purchase, and it gave us a nice discount. So also if you work cross faculties and everyone needs, for like example, 5 headsets, you can buy 50 in one shot and you get a nice discount. And also schools say, can I still use my Oculus Quests too? And I say, why not? Don't be afraid. It's not that it's outdated. If it supports your software, why not? Because students are very fond of trying XR, and they don't mind that the quality isn't that high. You can also find it second-handed for like 200, 250 euros. Also for software, be aware that you can have a lot of free trials. So if, for example, you're at an event and you meet a lot of companies, please ask them to give you a free trial. They're very happy to share it because they really want you to discover their product. Ask it. Also at the stores, you find a lot of material that's for free. And as a teacher, you are so professional, you know how to integrate it in your own courses. For small steps, you also give trainings to teachers to make their own 360 videos, because sometimes they don't find the right content. We offer them sessions in which they can take their own 360 videos of their location, their practice rooms and so on, and they can enrich it with software. We work with ThingLink, but I know, for example, like Warp VR is also a great platform. You can enrich it, and this way you can create a visual learning path. And students are really fond of it. They understand it more because we have the connection between seeing something and linking it to the knowledge they are catching up. We also use the 3D LiDAR scanner at our iPad Pro. So if you have it, so start by scanning objects. You have them in 3D and you can integrate them like in a 360 environments. Or for example, you have Sketchfab or ThinkLink or other platforms, and they offer also a lot of 3D objects for free. So discover it. There's a lot of stuff for free. So yeah, just ask Google and Google always has the answer. So if I want to summarize, let's start with Connect, not only at your university, not only at your faculty, but go beyond, go to events, reach out to people. You can do a lot of projects, just don't miss the calls. Talk about partners in crime with your connection, your network. Can we go together? Let's go for a project. And these of us just start small. The students will be very amused and very motivated to start an XR. They actually don't always expect the best and the highest quality. So if you have questions, you can reach out to me. You also find my LinkedIn. And thank you. If you have any questions, I'm sure at the discussion we will talk further.
Thank you, Stéphanie, very much. Maybe we could just go back to the full screen. Has anybody got any questions they'd like to put to Stéphanie at the moment? Just maybe raise your hand or indicate Stephanie, I just wanted to ask you very quickly, if nobody's got anything for the moment, just to ask you in terms of dealing with companies, do you have within the university now, do you have a set mechanism for doing that? Because that's sometimes a problem for lots of universities in terms of the ethical questions and questions to do with buy-in, being stuck in a particular technological route. Do you have a way of dealing with that?
We actually work a lot with Attestation. They are a fine partner in it. We know the issues, but if you are networking and starting to talk with each other, and sometimes we offer some research to them as well, so we can work both ways. We can do some research for them, and this way they can open it up for our students.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm sure we'll come back to some of those issues. And I think the advice is really useful, particularly for people getting started at the beginning.
Yeah.
So our next speaker, a very experienced expert in the area, producer in the area. I'm delighted to introduce Mikhail Fominykh from NTNU in Norway, who has got a long history and experience of working with immersive technologies. So Mikhail, over to you. Okay.
Thank you.
Lovely. Just give us your screen and we're good.
Mm-hmm.
Great. I just see in preview at the moment. Perfect. There you go.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Mikhail Fominykh is my name. I represent the Norwegian University of Science and Technology. Glad to be a member of Media and Learning. And I also am an entrepreneur, developer, and educational science researcher. And yeah, navigating through multiple organizations and multiple fields, working very interdisciplinary, both in design, development, and research and innovation sometimes. My presentation will be about developing and using XR apps in a university context. And I will mention some practical considerations and questions that would be perhaps interesting to discuss with the other people who are experienced from the audience of using and developing XR. And also we'll share some experience and some examples from my own projects. So I am a member of a research group called Innovative Immersive Technologies for Learning. And we are sort of an interdisciplinary, inter-department organization, a small group of people, and we work in 3 lines of activities to help people explore what XR is and what it can offer, both to the students and specifically staff in the university and also to the local organizations and communities. We do some education, both again for bachelor and master level students and also as part of continuing education. And we are also a design and development space where we support students and projects where both staff and students collaborate in designing and developing XR applications. So, yeah, to have a couple of block diagrams here for those people who like them. So we work usually in our organization, and this relates to, how do we manage to run several projects with limited budget. So we usually have research and development projects, and I think it's common knowledge that the primary objective is usually to do some research, and sometimes that includes development. And if that includes development, then we also produce some code. And what I see is a common issue is that this code is being used to develop a prototype, evaluate that prototype, and then it's been basically forgotten. Sometimes it is released and used for some time during the project or maybe a follow-up project, but then very few of software prototypes actually become products or even are being maintained. And that's a big challenge because it all costs money. And if the project is over, where does the money should come from? And that is a big challenge. Well, the perfect solution from my point of view is to start companies out of successful projects who would pick up the development, pay some license to the inventors, the research groups or university who is owning the IP for that invention, and then build upon that, and then, of course, release commercially or for free these products to the public. And so sometimes, or quite often, when we invite university staff to our lab and we demonstrate them what we do and all the equipment that we have, we get a question of, okay, how much does it cost to develop something, and how much does it cost to then maintain it, and what are the available tools and software? And quite often we recommend to just look for existing applications if that would suffice. And if not, we offer something that we can do. And we offer usually to start with a student project. So we supervise and teach. We have some students from the computer science department, from design, from other study programs who all come to our lab to work on projects or to work on bachelor and master thesis. And for every single student project, we connect them to some subject matter experts who happen to be usually the visitors of our lab from before, who are interested in trying to develop some prototype in XR, and usually it's in succession XR education. Sometimes it's other related areas. So if these staff members are not ready to, dedicate a lot of time to writing grant proposals or something, there is an intermediate step, as we can position that, matching them with a student or a couple of students or a student team who would be able to develop something in XR, while those staff members who are interested in trying something in their subjects or their field, they could act as subject matter experts. Then ideally, we would release the minimum viable product or prototype, but that's really rarely gets to the store so that it's available. So usually a student project ends with the release and with some source code, but that product is demonstratable, but it's not yet usable. So then what we could also do, so that's this process, that's we start with this staff idea. We also invite staff members to courses we teach. We have a teacher training module and a continuing education course, which are, well, quite popular to the extent of our capacity. And then these staff members would be much more confident on what they could do, what are the possibilities, and then this collaboration between the staff members and the students will be much more fruitful. And this usually ends with the minimal viable product or prototype and a demo. And the next step that we offer, so this takes half a year, this process, or maybe even 1 year if the course can be taken on in the autumn, and then this student project in the spring. And then we invite to the next stage from the idea to prototype, again on a budget. So we invite to collaborate with us on writing a proposal for a project that was very well presented as option by Stéphanie. So we'll not really repeat. And then we try in the frame of a research project to go to this route to release it. Actually, some applications that we develop and to put them into the stores. So then the next question would come, so the project is over, how do we want to support this? Because XR and any other digital tech is becoming obsolete very quickly. The software becoming obsolete if it's not maintained properly. And that's a good question for a discussion, I think. I have a couple of examples to give you this, to exemplify these two paths from staff idea to a course to student project, and then to a research project, and then to a release. So one of these examples is a Netherlands application that was that started as a collaboration between a neuroscience institute in our university and university hospital and our XR education lab. There is a link to this project if you want to have a look at it. I have a short video to just show you what it looks like. So it's a simple application that lets the students, and maybe students and the teacher, to collaboratively explore a model, a 3D model of a rat. It's an open source model with lots of meta information about different parts of the brain. You can interact with them collaboratively and so on. So there is material coming from neuroscience and medical student education, or medical anatomy course, and there is this XR angle to it that you can then explore all this content in augmented reality in this case, interact with it, collaborate with others, and so on. That's a super quick demo. So what I wanted to highlight is rather that this application has been developed through a series of master theses. So we had 3 projects. In one of them, there was a first minimum viable product developed for HoloLens glasses, then evaluated. The neuroanatomy teachers found it really useful. Students also provided positive feedback, and we had a second master thesis developing mobile versions for tablet and mobile phones. And then we had the third one where we researched a bit more the value of collaboration, peer learning, representations of users using gestures and similar aspects. So yeah, we also managed to get some additional funding from a small EU project. And this is how this project lived, basically, with some also internal mini projects of basically 2,000–3,000 euros here and there that was injected into the project between the phases of student thesis. And this allowed us to actually maintain, to refactor a little bit the student code, and to publish the application in the stores for iOS and Android devices. So this is how the project lived so far, and the next stage is that we found some national associations in Norway who are interested in also the anatomy and digital resources for it, and we are applying for the next round of funding. And then I have another example for you of a project, virtual reality for career guidance and vocational education and training. Again, it's a very small project. It's also a follow-up to another small project. We have been working on this for almost 8 years now. And I have first a quick video. For some reason, it gives me sound, which I don't want now. Yeah, it's a virtual reality application. In this case, it simulates, it aims to simulate a workplace and just to introduce it to either young unemployed people or to school children to help them select their professions. So in this case, you find yourself in the middle of a fjord and explore the aquaculture industry. We have a fish feed control station with a little simulation of how the observation is done, and you can also play a game trying to manage the fish in multiple fish cages. We have similar applications for other professions, and this is just an example of what it is. And in this project, we also worked in a way that some part of the work is always done by students in their master thesis. So there has been already 5 of them, and there are 2 more in progress at the moment, and multiple of other coursework students. And usually in between, we had time for our developers, and this development time is paid by research and education projects funded nationally, and in this case, also internationally. And mostly this developer effort is in refactoring and in publication and maintaining the code and making it possible so that the next students find it in a good way so that it continue. I have now some questions and practical considerations, and I will distinguish them and quickly go through them, distinguish between practical consideration for using XR on a budget and then for the development. So for using, from our experience, it's quite important to have physical space, a physical space. So we have a lab with dedicated VR environments inside them with sort of semi-encapsulated rooms as possible to observe by the people, and meeting rooms and developer stations and so on, with equipment is already sort of installed there with additional sensors or what and other things, and storage space as well. We observed some others in our university who tried to expose XR to students through other spaces like in labs or in libraries and other open spaces, and that usually faced some challenges on maintaining and keeping it safe and so on. There is an issue on purchasing, storage, and maintenance and replacement or repair of hardware. Purchasing is for us the smallest issue. We usually have lots of special purpose equipment grants available inside the university. But I know that it's a challenge, for example, for schools, and it's a challenge for other organizations, and they would need a specific project or like a national project program, like in Belgium, to actually purchase this equipment. But then, even if after you purchase it, there is a question of storage, maintenance, and replacements. I have my office, for example, full of old VR glasses that are now slowly eating all the space, and also all the currently used ones. Maintenance is difficult. We try to engage IT services, and they don't really want to deal with any special purpose equipment. They only want to deal with the standard laptop, standard monitor, keyboard, and mouse, and that's it. So if you have better experience, that would be to hear how you manage to negotiate with your IT services. There is also cleaning, charging, and checking. There's lots of stuff that you want to do before you do run a class with a student with equipment. There is hardware and software responsibility question where it lies, and we try to get IT services to help us with that, but without much success, so we manage it ourselves. And this time to manage equipment and software doesn't really count towards teaching or research time or even administration. So it's really hard for academic staff to actually do it. And hiring technicians is not included in the equipment grant. So if you purchase equipment, you need to think yourself who's going to take care of that. Then for software, searching, scanning constantly for educational apps, purchasing, installing, updating, and so on. So all that needs to be done on a regular basis, and it takes time, not maybe money, but time. Many software have licenses, and sometimes have organizational licenses, and you would need to manage how you do it and not to purchase it twice, for example. For equipment, we have well, I can see 2 approaches on Lab Center to bring your own device, but for augmented reality, it works quite well. Lots of people like using their own phones for AR, for example. but not special purpose equipment like glasses. Almost nobody has VR glasses at home. And managing accounts, also a big challenge. We currently have organizational, well, not organizational, but like per device accounts. We call them IntelLab 1, IntelLab 2, IntelLab 3, and so on. That's also a challenge to keep all these accounts alive. And then properly, some hardware providers allow you to create organizational accounts and put lots of sort of under accounts under this organization, but that's usually cost money, and on the budget is not an option. And then you can also allow users to students, for example, to log in with their own accounts, but then you would not guarantee that all the software that you want to use will be available for them as well, especially if it needs to be purchased. It's not going to work like this. So that's a challenge as well. And now I have some considerations for the development. So there's a challenge on managing the goals between a student project, for example, or a course project, and then your aim and your goal, or the goal of your research project. So students want to finish and they want to learn something and get some useful experience, and the projects usually don't really care about that too much. They want to collect the data, they want to deliver their deliverables. And in my project, I try to push for releasing working applications and maintaining them, and this sort of all these goals collide a little bit. There is a challenge on storing and reusing the code. We use organizationally Git for version control system, and try to force all the students to use the same system, which is very challenging. And many students prefer to work independently or work in their own branch and then never version and updating, because it's not in their interest to keep the whole project running, but they want to run their own. But it's still a lot of benefit of having all the student project code in one place. It's still an advantage to have it. Student project symptoms are usually hard to overcome. So they're developed with a lot of technical depth, usually, just to work right now for this demonstration, and not talking about scalability and so on. And there's usually poor documentation and no automatic testing and so on. That's usually not required for student projects. And there's a challenge on publishing, distribution of the applications, questions about ownership and copyright, who owns it. So and now university students own their work, and then the universities own the work of their staff, and then the research projects would have their own agreements about ownership and copyright. And if your students and your staff cooperate on something in a research project, that becomes very challenging to manage. Okay, and finally, about knowledge and experience, there is, I think, the gateways through innovators and early adopters, usually, both in our university and all our partners and other organizations. Without them, it's really hard. If the initiatives come from the top and then somebody announced for an organization, you're now going to use XR, that's really not working. The other point I had was organizational networks, but Stéphanie already talked quite a bit about that. I will not touch on that. And then keeping experience and specialized knowledge about user skills and development skills is also very important for us. And we basically built our own courses on this. And for example, for the user skills, we have a teacher education module and a continuing education course. The first one is for staff in the university, and the second one for anyone. And we include quite an extensive program, basically preparing anyone to be a proficient user of XR, knowing both about hardware and software and education application, being able to select, procure, and so on. I have some examples of development skill courses we developed as well. And on the topic of AR in particular here, and that's basically my presentation.
Mikhail, thank you very much. Very interesting. We have another question in from Andre, I see, but from Stéphanie, do you work with group accounts, shared accounts?
We want to make a transition to organizational accounts as soon as we find a way how to fund this. But at the moment, we have accounts that we as a team, created for each device, and we sort of put a fake name on it. So it's a lab name and then the number of the device. So this is how our accounts are all managed at the moment. This is hard to keep track of because we have a long list of all these accounts and we have to share passwords between the members of our research group, which is also not very secure.
Yeah, sure. We'll come back to some of these questions later. I was also wondering about your courses, whether they're available online as well, whether we could put the links into those if they're accessible. If they are they just in your region?
Yeah, those courses that I mentioned, they're sadly only in Norwegian at the moment. And one of them is only for internal. The other one is open for anyone, but it's in Norwegian. However, in one of the projects I mentioned, VR for Vet, we are going to run a very similar 3-day course publicly. It will be in our partner organization in Germany from the 1st to the 4th of July this year.
Okay. So maybe we might promote that for you. And just a question in from Andre as well, too, before we move on to our third speaker today. Andre says, I like your approach to students doing their thesis, one after each other on the same project. But is that clear from the start that there will be a series of connected theses for the students?
Sometimes it is clear. So when we only started like 7-8 years ago, involving students in our research projects and vice versa, it's like an emerging process. So we sometimes get someone an interest and then they decide to continue, and then we find a good student and we match them together and it works. And if it works and then the evaluation is very positive, we try to find either resources to refactor, continue, maintain it, or find another student.
Okay.
And in the newer project, we try to incorporate this approach from the start. So in this VR for Vet project, we knew that we're going to every semester announce a new thesis, sort of thesis proposals for the students to accept it and work on this topic. So we knew which kind of thesis we wanna propose.
Okay, thank you very much. You'll be with us anyway to the end. So I hope because I'd love to get back and talk a bit more about scale and that kind of thing, but we're a little bit behind time. So I'd like to move on to our third speaker this afternoon, and I'm delighted to introduce Jay Govender. He's from the Hotelschool The Hague in The Hague, in the Netherlands. So Jay, over to you.
Thank you, Sally. Let me just get my screen up. It's not letting me share for some reason.
Okay, try again. It was working earlier.
Yeah. Just try the window.
Hey. It's annoying for you.
No. Yeah. I think, Dovile, you've also got my slides, so I think we can also just...
Maybe we do them from here, essentially.
I do. Or I can just wait. I will... your co-host, maybe I can make you the host, and then you will definitely have the... yeah, can you try again?
Okay.
Nope.
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 No.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, just 1 second. I will just quickly find your presentation.
Just while we're pulling that up for everybody, we will just take a moment. Jay, I know you've been working in this area for quite some time, haven't you?
Yes, for 3 years now.
Okay.
Yeah, quite a long time.
Good experience to bring to us and to share with us.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, absolutely.
I see a couple of people are leaving. Don't all leave. We have a great presentation for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been I've largely been working with low tech AR and VR, so 360 video, augmented reality, and working on using those particularly for hospitality education. So
Okay.
really using it within a very specific use case. There we go. Thank you, Deville. And let me get started. And with regards to what I'll be talking about today, my name is Govender, and I'm from Hotelschool The Hague in Amsterdam in the Netherlands. And I work on integrating VR and AR into education. So introducing it into courses, also research in that area. And really happy to be here today as well, and share what we've been working on for the past 3 years. With regards to what we are going to be looking at, before we get there, if you don't mind, some of you may have already used an app called Vector for augmented reality. You can download it if you like on your phone in the meantime, and we've got some QR codes for you to share with you. So coming to a research project that we started 2 years ago called the Theta Project, which was on transformative hospitality education through technology abilities. We began that in 2022, February, and the whole aim of that project was to find ways to use low technology, augmented reality, and virtual reality to enhance hospitality education. So we really wanted to find. We started off by looking at various technology platforms, going across the range of platforms that were available to us, looking at use cases for this within hospitality teaching and learning. We interviewed lecturers, we spoke to staff, and then decided on 3 platforms, which were Warp VR, Vector, and Matterport, which would serve our needs as a hospitality institution. The second stage of the project was developing prototypes within these 3 platforms. We were looking to, we were a group of lecturers and researchers, so we weren't high-tech experts, so to speak. So we wanted to make content that could be created by your average lecturer, your average student, on your own, in a very cheap and cost-effective way. And we think we got pretty close to it. And we started making prototypes after interviewing lecturers at the school and students. We came up with 5 generic prototypes that we thought could be used across many different courses in many different universities. Also, we collaborated with 4 universities, University of Balearic Islands in Mallorca, Haga Helia in Finland, and TU Dublin, as well as ourselves on this project. And we developed various prototypes. The third part was the iterative research. We tested these prototypes in 3 cycles with students, iteratively to continuously improve them based on student feedback. And then lastly, we developed manuals for lecturers and for students on how to make this content in a step-by-step fashion. Even if you have no background in this, that was the aim of our project. You didn't have to have a degree in IT to make these things. Can you change the screen? The next slide, please. And this was a sort of roadmap that we used, or the system we used for developing content. We've got the design-based research cycle in the center there, but on the outside, the green areas is what we actually did. We'd start by consulting lecturers, identifying learning needs in a course. What is the gap in the curriculum? What do students or lecturers struggle to convey in normal mediums of learning that VR, AR can excel at? We then went around a design thinking process. We collaborated online to identify how we could use the benefits of the medium, use cases, possible scenarios, develop storyboards, draft scripts, and decision trees. That was the planning part on the right. Then on the left, we created the content with 360 cameras, sometimes using mobile devices as well, and green screens, and uploaded to our platforms. And then the testing began. Next slide, please. Yeah, and this was the first prototype that we built was holographic avatar, or holographic chef was what we created. And the aim of this was, we thought this was actually around the time of the pandemic was still around. How could we build a closer connection to the lecturer and the student, between the lecturer and the student? And how could we project a lecturer or instructor into the space of the student? We also thought, how could we provide step-by-step instructions for our students within practical education? So how to use equipment, how to put on your kitchen safety uniform before you get into the kitchen, so safety in the kitchen, and also cutting techniques for chefs and so on. So holographic avatar was born, or holographic chef. You can scan that QR code if you've got Vector downloaded, and have a look at how it's used. You'll just click tap to place. But you can see the equipment we use, very basic, a normal camera stand, an iPhone, and a green screen, and we would then use the Vector platform to cut out the green and drop the character into the space into the camera view of the phone. This was our fastest prototype, so we could make this in 5 to 10 minutes, and it was very cost effective and very good for a fast creation within the various prototypes that we created. Next slide, please. The second one we made was augmented reality hotel room. So this was something we thought of. How could we, get a first-year student in hospitality to maybe identify the difference between an economy room, a mid-range room, and a luxury room? So we used 3D models downloaded from Sketchfab and other sources, put them into the Vector platform, and we were able to show the students how to switch between the different rooms. And the benefits of this is obviously they could look at the rooms from different angles and perspectives, walk around the bed, have a look at the difference between a 5-star room and a 3-star room or a 4-star room. Once again, you can scan that QR code if you'd like to have a look. This prototype was very well received by students on all campuses, and we definitely, if you convey it to larger educational situations, you can drop in any 3D model there, and be able to show comparisons very easily. So it's very flexible. Vector was found to be the most flexible of the 3 platforms that we used, and it was seriously seen as a very important platform for AR and VR content creation. Next slide, please. The next platform we used was Matterport. So Matterport was really about creating virtual tours. And here it's as you all probably know, it's a real estate platform used for showcasing apartments and houses. So it's very aesthetically pleasing. We used it to conduct a room assessment, a virtual room assessment. So in hospitality, having a look at the hotel room before it's handed over to a new guest, checking that the towels are in order, the bedding is done properly, and so on. And we shot 360 images with the basic 360 camera, and you could hop around from position to position, but also embed video, embed text, embed hyperlinks to create a 3D model or a digital twin of the environment. And by the way, this Matterport experience, we actually used it in Mallorca a few weeks ago at our partner institution, and one of the students did vandalize the link. So if you see any funny videos in there on the scan, hopefully you'll find it humorous. And a very useful virtual tour, though, that you can use across many applications in education. Can you go to the next one, please? All right, so now this brings us to our next platform, which is Warp VR. And we found this Warp VR platform, and we basically created an experience around dealing with a difficult customer. So coming from hospitality education, dealing with soft skills is a big part of what we give to our students, so training them in. And you are introduced to a guest who's been seated at the wrong table, and he's unhappy, he's angry, and you need to calm him down based on a decision tree and a branch storyline. As you can see in the red there, you've got different options you can take, and each option is linked to a separate video clip. This was probably the most difficult from the 3 platforms that we used to make in terms of time and getting it done, but it had the highest impact in terms of presence. Students really felt like they were in the context, they were in the environment when they used it, and received very positive outcomes. So what are we testing here? We are testing things like critical thinking, decision-making, putting students in a highly emotional experience, testing emotional intelligence within that situation, a pre-experience of a difficult customer if you've never had one before. Next slide, please. All right, and now we've shown you the prototypes that we made, and obviously we made them to be as generic as possible, where we could use them across many scenarios in many contexts and courses. We then did iterative testing with students. We showed them, we set up stations in the different universities and tested the prototypes with students, and thereafter did interviews and focus groups with them. From that, the main findings we found were that they really want interaction and interactivity. So they want interactive 3D experiences. there was a very key finding that came up over and over again in the interviews and the focus groups. Also gamification. They wanted more gamification in all of the prototypes that we provided. So leaderboards and rewards, incentives, and so on. They were really looking for that within the experience. Another big thing that came up was 3D, not 2D. So we also made a virtual tour of a kitchen scenario, introducing kitchen equipment to first-year students before they worked the first day in the kitchen. So how to use the equipment, and we dropped in 2D video within a 360 scenario, and students didn't like the fact that they were seeing a YouTube video or a 2D video within a 360 environment. So that's something that came up over and over again. Like, why am I using goggles when I'm seeing a 2D video inside of it? So that was pretty interesting. And we also found health concerns, discomfort, motion sickness, the usual, coming out with the use of our Google Cardboards more than the use of Pico Neo 4 Pro headsets, which we used as well. We also saw the AR, VR as a complementary tool, so not as the total learning solution, but just as a piece of the pie that is supported by other mediums. Next slide, please. Can we go to the next one? Thank you. And when we went over to the latter part of integrating AR and VR into the curriculum, we also saw that we ran a train the trainer workshop at the end of the research project, where we took staff to Helsinki from the 4 universities, lecturers and instructors who were interested in using AR and VR in education. We did a hands-on maker education workshop with them, showing them how to build all these prototypes over 3 days. And they were then sent, we received very positive feedback on that, and they were then went back to their home institutions. But we then found that once they went back, integrating these prototypes into their courses was very difficult due to various issues such as workload, time, and cost, and so on. But we will talk about that shortly. FECTA was seen by this group of educators as being the most flexible platform. We also saw that a lot of them emphasized, wanting to use these prototypes to make student-created content. So not for lecturers to make the content, but to show students how to make their own AR, VR content. And yeah, the main barriers that we see were things such as cost of equipment and also licenses for software. And we all know that lecturers and educators have really seriously high workloads, and having the time and managerial support in order to do that was often lacking when they came back to the institutions, but also a need for continuous educator skills development. They were really interested in doing it, but they would like further training and also time and resources provided as well. Can we go to the next one? Okay, and then we went ahead and did various research articles after we'd done the initial testing, and one of these was comparing the prototypes across different mediums. So we started with the difficult guest. We showed that within a VR headset, a Pico Neo 4 Pro, we found that had the highest score in terms of presence, intrinsic motivation, embodiment, interest, and self-efficacy. So we used the camel model of immersive learning by McCransky for that measurement. Secondly, we also used the augmented reality hotel room, and we used the mobile phone as medium there, and that still scored the highest in terms of meeting learning outcomes across these 3 prototypes. Lastly, we tried something different, and the room assessment Matterport virtual tour, we showed it on a 4K HD projector in the classroom. And funnily enough, this performed the best on cognitive load and agency. So the amount of working memory that we use as humans, cognitive load can be a problem with VR headsets and high stimuli. So showing this experience on the projector actually helped that, which was a pretty interesting finding there. Can we go to the next one, please? All right, so very quickly, I don't know how much time I have left, but we're going to give you, maybe you can just stop me when I run out of time, Devile. We're going to give you a quick...
Give me another 5 minutes, Shay, okay?
5 minutes, perfect.
Great.
We're going to give you a quick overview of how we integrate such experiences in Hotelschool The Hague. and showing you how we've used it and embedded it across different courses there over the past 3 years. So, current use cases at Hotelschool The Hague. So we use a lot of 360 video, particularly for soft skills training. As a hospitality school, we've seen a lot of use of 360 video for standard operating procedures, digitalizing those, virtual tours, induction, also language training. We're using Factor, augmented reality a lot for operations, so operational procedures within the hospitality environment, safety as well. Matterport for virtual tours and also SOPs as well. And we use our Pick on Your 4s. We've got 10 of them. We use them for off-the-shelf experiences, high-end experiences with the year 3 and year 4 students. And we'll just go to the next one. So these are 3 levels of how we approach augmented reality and virtual reality. So level 1 is more year 1 and year 2 students. Level 2 is sort of like our mid-range students, year 2 and year 3, and level 3 is more year 4 students. We started with that idea 3 years ago, but now we've mixed them all up and we're showing them across all the different years within our curriculum. But you can see that was the approach when we started. You can go to the next one, please. So there's some examples of how we use it. So, you know, we have certain classes which are bigger. We use Google Cardboard for the 360 video, you know, really showcasing an experience of resistance to change is one of the experiences that we show within a class called Business Transformation. And that one, it's all about you basically face-to-face with a manager of Starbucks, and he's not interested in a new change initiative that's been introduced by the CEO to introduce customer service training across the organization. And he's more interested in making a profit. So you've got to convince him to send his staff and customer service training. So it's that decision tree again, working to apply change management theory within the right situation and testing that decision making and critical thinking. Above that, what we're very proud of is our student-created prototypes. So we've, in certain courses, the Future of Work minor and various others, students have created their own AR/VR prototypes for their research projects in year 4. In the one above there, you can see a student has created a digital SOP for housekeeping procedure within the Hyatt. And this was actually disseminated to the Hyatt, who are very happy with it. And we've gotten very positive responses from our student-created content by industry. Can we go to the next, please? So this is how we've introduced it across our curriculum. You can see the courses in blue at the bottom. We've managed to embed in 5 courses over the last 3 years, which basically means these courses are using AR and VR repetitively every semester. Whereas the ones in black, we've shown them, you know, a few times, 2 times, 3 times, and so on, but it's not really embedded as yet, as well as various projects on the go, as you can see on the right-hand side, and a lot of focus on Spanish languages and language training coming through. Go to the next, please. A lot of challenges that we faced along the way include especially the cost of developing content. So, you know, deciding whether it's possible to share content with other institutions, resistance on the way to, you know, starting with very low levels of equipment and funding and so on, and being able to prototype fast and continuous prototyping usually gets through any resistance you'll face in your organization. Also, things that Mikhail was talking about, equipment maintenance is pretty difficult, getting IT on board, and also marketing what you're doing. We go to the next one, please. So some other lessons learned, support of top leadership was very important. So, you know, this really allowed us to clear the path of resistance that we faced, also unlocking resources needed. Student evaluations, when we evaluated our prototypes and showed them to management, we often were then provided with resources and so on. So this was a major decision point that we found. And also linking externally to a research project like the TITA project really, you know, brought in a lot of a theoretical understanding of these prototypes for us to build on going forward over the coming years. Can we go to the next one, please? And then this is a view of our Train the Trainer workshop in Helsinki. You can see lecturers from the 4 institutions there, and which was very well received from all of them. And you can see an immersive cave being showed there, as well as various other headsets and so on. Can we go to the next one? And the last slide is basically we've got the endpoint of the Theta project was creating manuals for lecturers and for educators to make their own content. So you can scan that code and have a look at it. That's the website for our research project, and all the manuals are there. So all the prototypes have shown you step by step how to make them. You can use them, share them with your students, disseminate them. Please spread the word, and we hope that it can help in some way in creating low-cost AR VR prototypes in your educational institution. Thank you.
Sorry, I was happily talking to myself, thinking you were listening to me. Thank you so much, Jay. And I'm sorry about the difficulties we had at the beginning, but we will happily share your presentation with everybody. There's a question, in fact, from Mikhail, and that is, how do you link XR learning to return on investment? Or do you at this stage? Are you able to?
Yeah, so that's a very good question, and we're doing a lot of studies on learning effectiveness right now within this Theta project as well, there's definitely a return on investment there for educational institutions if you can identify that. But what we are also, one of the projects we are looking at is a comparison of people completing digitalized SOPs. For example, housekeeping procedure in a hotel within a training through a VR, a 360 experience versus training through a normal manual or following the normal training process, and doing a comparison on time completion. So time spent in completing the task, quality checks, and so on. So we are doing studies on that at the moment. And we're hoping that the results of those studies will show the ROI to industry partners in hospitality of a return on investment there. Learning effectiveness as well. Engagement. We've also shown that we've done studies on engagement, and it's pretty clear that AR and VR both have a very high impacts on engagement. So but I like that question. It's something that we're really trying to show more and more clearly as we do more research in this space.